Alrighty, hey. So, now we're doing a gaming week. Um, and so, the theme of this week's pretty much just seeing what games show us about us. Because, we make games, and so games are going to reflect us. It's going to reflect who we are as people when you look at what we made. And that's not a crazy idea. Everyone kind of knows that. But let me share with you a little excerpt from the Bible. This is from Genesis first Genesis 1, right? And we're going to skip around a little bit in Genesis 1, but we're going to start from the beginning of the beginning. First verse. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was without form or shape, with darkness over the abyss, and a mighty wind sweeping over the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So that's the first section I want you to think about. And then we're going to skip a little bit. I think it's verse 26 at this point. Then God said, "Let us make human beings in our own image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish in the sea, the birds of the air, the tame animals, and all the wild animals, and all the creatures that crawl on the earth." God created mankind in his image. In the image of God, he created them. Male and female, he created them. And so, there's one word that gets repeated so much in that little excerpt I read. Let. God says, "Let this happen," and then it does. Let that happen, and then it does. You see, God is so unique and so special because he's the only thing that we've ever seen create something out of nothing. And, obviously we've never seen God directly, and, that's a thing. But then, that's the concept. Is that, matter cannot be created or destroyed, so what the heck? How can you create something out of nothing? But God does it. And he created us in his own image. And that's why we're the only creature that can create something out of nothing. And all we have to do is say, let. Just say, as of today, this exists. And that sounds a little bit like, oh, not really. How could that be true? We're not that powerful. But think about it. A dog may want something. They may want something to happen. And they may imagine, hey, I'd feel pretty good if that were to happen. They dream. They run and chase things in their dreams. They're obviously thinking something. But you know what they can't do? They can't say, well, let this happen. Then what? What if it did exist, right? What if it did happen? Well, besides your first emotional reaction, what would that world look like? What would exist? What would change? What would be different? And you see, that's the power of the word let. And so, in games, that's what we do all the time. We make something out of nothing. When you play a game, you're living a world that someone else made. Someone else said, hey, you know what? I'm going to do what God did. I'm going to create my own little world. I'm going to look at the person who made me and do that. And that's how humans participate in creation, in the act of creation. More so than just, having babies and stuff. We can imagine new and exciting worlds and different situations and different stuff. And now, with games, we have a medium to make that real and visible and experiential. So that way other people can live in those worlds. And so games are just like Genesis. That we say, let there be this, and then there's this. Let XYZ happen, and then it happens. We have an ability to create that is unimaginable. We can do so much stuff, especially now. And in the future, it's only going to become more realistic. I mean, people have already come up with these ideas of like, oh man, what if we have, virtual reality? And what if it's, not just visual, but like you can get your touch and maybe even your taste and maybe even all of your senses. All of your senses in this world, and you could live in a world that a person made. Like, that's something that's possible. And that just goes to show how powerful human beings are. And in Genesis, we learn exactly why. Because God created mankind in His image. In the image of God, He created them. We are images of God. We are God's children. We are like Him. And that's why we can do all this amazing stuff. That's why we come up with all these crazy inventions, like the internet. Like, yeah, computers were crazy enough already, right? To be able to draw with light on the screen by using, little sparks or no sparks, right? And yeah, that's already crazy. But then the idea that we can then throw those things all across the world at the speed of light, just so we can talk to each other, just so that we can have fun with each other. That is powerful. That's amazing. That's what games do. And so, when I was growing up, I already knew when I was 6 years old what I wanted to be when I grow up. And in fact, I think it was my kindergarten, maybe first grade teacher, I forget. They had us. They gave us this little sheet of paper, and it was supposed to be a time capsule. So it's like, oh, you write down what you're interested in, what you like, and then you put it in this little tinfoil roll, and then when you're 18, you open it up and you get a good laugh of what your 6-year-old you said. And the funny thing is, I lost it, but then I found it. I found it when I was 18, when I was actually shuffling things around, sorting things out, because, what do you take to college and what do you not? And I actually found it tucked away somewhere. And I read it, and I said, okay, well, one of those things was like, what's your favorite thing? Pokemon, of course. Power Rangers, yeah. Like, that was my thing, whatever. But then it said, what did you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be a video game designer. Because for me, I saw this. Even as a kid, I saw that people were making worlds. And that was amazing, and that was cool, and that was awe-inspiring, and I wanted to be a part of it. Now, I didn't end up really ever doing that. I'm a software engineer, so pretty darn close. And I've fiddled around and I've made some fun little games just for me. Yeah, I've done that. But really what I wanted, I didn't want to type in code and be like, oh yeah, I can make numbers do stuff. Like, I don't care about that. That's not interesting. What I wanted to do was I wanted to make my own world. I knew, even from a young age, that the coolest thing that you could possibly do is to create your own world. You know why? Because that's the kind of thing that God does. That is amazing and inspiring, and that is like the peak of humanity. We can do that. And so, as I got older, I realized that that's what I really wanted to do. And as I matured, I really thought about it. As you're deciding what career path to go down, you got to put up or shut up, right? You got to actually go after your dream or realize it wasn't your dream in the first place. And you see, that's the thing. I didn't really care about a game. Like, a game's fun. A game's interesting. Whatever. I didn't even care about a story. Stories are fun. Stories are interesting. What I cared about was creating a world. But even more so, a world that people would live in and enjoy and have fun in. I wanted to make something fun for other people. Something good. Something to inspire awe in them, to make them feel like more than they were yesterday, to make them feel big and powerful and impactful, to make them feel like they were a son and daughter of God too. That's what I wanted. And so, in a way, that's why I made this channel. That's why I'm doing this stuff. Is because it'd be nice to make a story, and that'd be fun. But really what I want is to change this world, the one that God made for us, and participate in that act of creation, and do my part to make this world better than it was yesterday. To gather up people and reshape this world so that way it more resembles God. That's what I want. And so that's not an easy thing to do. But we're the only ones who can. People, humans. We're the only ones that can bring this earth closer to heaven. Because God said something. Let us make human beings in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and the tame animals and all the wild animals and all the creatures that crawl on the earth. We have dominion on all of it. We have control over all of it. We can make this world into anything we want. Because not only is God allowing us, He's telling us that's our job. It is our job to make this world a better place, to do the best things we can. And that is something inspiring. And games are the practice level on that, where we can make any world we want in a game. Simulations and adventures and puzzles, all kinds of stuff. They're in games because they reflect our fundamental job as humans: to create, to shape this world into something worth having. Because we were shaped into something. We were shaped into something that resembles God Himself. And later in the Bible, we learn that, hey, now we're even called His children. And so, as a child of God, it's our job to participate in creation and say, let this be so, and then it's so. That's our job. And that's something that I learned from games. And hopefully, now, that's true for you too. Because if we're going to change this world for the better, it's going to take all of us. And that's why I'm letting you know. So that maybe, even if you didn't know before, you do now. And so now we can go together and make this world a better place. And hopefully, we get there.